and returned home to create his own versions of Tetris. Tetris was evolving and expanding into 3 major world markets, and everyone was cashing in. Everyone, that is, apart from the Russians.
We'd send our money to Microsoft. Was Stein getting paid? Was he paying who he was supposed to pay? But somewhere along the chain, somebody wasn't paying.
Elorg drafted in a new broom from Communist Party headquarters to sort things out. Nikolai Belakov's first job was to examine the original agreement with Robert Stein's company Andromeda Software.
Вот когда я его прочитал, мне стало просто плохо, потому что в этом соглашении было указано, что первый платеж должен был быть произведен в течение 3 месяцев. Договор был подписан 10 мая 1988 года, уже был октябрь. После этого я стал думать, что делать с этим договором, как заставить Andromeda Software платить деньги.
As Belikov pondered this problem, developments on the other side of the world were about to change his fortune. Industry giant Nintendo were about to launch a handheld game playing device and wanted to sell Tetris as part of the package. But first, they needed someone to discreetly secure them the rights.
We showed Hank Rogers a prototype of Game Boy and a prototype of Tetris playing on Game Boy. So he immediately moved very quickly.
Hank went straight to the top of the chain, to the one man who had been dealing directly with the Russians.
I contacted Robert Stein, and I said, Robert, you need to represent me to get the rights to Tetris for Game Boy from Russia. And he agreed, and I sent him, I think, $25,000.
I'm not surprised. I mean, anybody working with Bactia must...
Little did he know that Stein had been discussing the same rights with Microsoft.
He was trying to muscle in on something which was spoken for, the Tetris. On the other hand, I wasn't going to be dismissive of him because I seen him as a potential licensee of products which we produce or develop in Hungary.
We were exchanging faxes on a weekly basis for, I don't know, 3 months, and then I started getting nervous because it just seemed to be taking so long. And he said he was going to go to Russia, and he kept on saying that, and he wasn't going, so I became really suspicious.
Robert Stein's negotiations with the Russians had reached an impasse over the money he owed them.
Andromeda Software присылала телексы с просьбой начать переговоры по новому лицензионному договору для игровых автоматов. Но моя реакция была на все эти телексы только одна. Сначала, пожалуйста, выполните условия первого подписанного договора, только после этого мы будем говорить, проводить переговоры по следующему лицензионному договору.
By February 1989, Hank Rogers was tired of waiting around and increasingly suspicious that Stein was working for someone else.
I guess I panicked and I said, get me on a plane, this guy's going to get the rights for somebody else, and I need those rights. And so I was on a plane 2 days later, going to Moscow.
But Hank Rogers wasn't the only one flying into Moscow that week. Robert Stein was finally making the trip himself. And to complete the set, Microsoft had secretly sent Kevin Maxwell to move along negotiations for their interests. Both Stein and Maxwell had meetings set for the same day. Hank had no such meeting arranged. He didn't even have an address for Elorg.
I did know that I was going behind the Iron Curtain for the first time, but I had no idea what I was getting into. I kind of knew how to deal with people that were not from my original culture. So I was expecting to get off that plane and make friends. That's not what happened.
I guess it's just the beginning of my trip and I'm in for a lot more.
Henk recorded his adventure to take back to Japan.
Take a look outside here. This is Moscow. It looks pretty gray. That's because it's pretty gray.
Everybody that I met was unfriendly and unhappy and grumpy. There was an information desk in the hotel. I asked them, Elorg. They said, no, I can't find it. No attempt at going any further. Here I am, waiting for a phone call from Japan, watching video of Hawaii, because the TV doesn't work, the radio doesn't work. I've read everything I could read.
Henk spent his first night in the in-tourist hotel overlooking Red Square, right at the heart of a seemingly impenetrable Soviet state.
I got smart the next day and I hired an interpreter, which I'd never considered doing before, but I hired an interpreter. I figured they have to be able to help me. I have a very lovely interpreter. Her name is...
My name is Allah.
Your name is Allah. Okay, Allah is located Elorg for us. So this afternoon we should get a lot of things done. One big impression I got from Moscow at the time is there's no color anywhere. There's no advertisements. Nobody's trying to sell you anything. So the whole place is kind of bland. It's like all the color has been sucked out of a city.
«21 февраля раздался звонок из протокольного отдела о том, что ко мне на встречу пришел иностранец из Японии. Значит, его зовут Хэнк Роджерс. Вот. И дальше мне было сказано, что это является нарушением режима, потому что в то время обязательно договариваться о встрече с иностранцами надо было заранее и давать информацию в протокольный отдел о том, что кто будет, какая цель, тема переговоров и так далее.
You don't walk into a place like that uninvited. You have to have an invitation, and then your invitation has to be cleared with the KGB. Make sure that you are somebody above board. They do your background check before you ever have a meeting. I just walked in.
A meeting was hastily convened for the next day. The same day, Belikov was due to meet Maxwell and Stein. The following day would prove crucial for the future of Tetris. All would hinge on the communists' ability to play the capitalists at their own game. Already they understood the capitalist mantra of divide and rule.
Все захотели встретиться сразу в один день. Я не понимал до конца, конечно, что за кем стоит, но я понимал, что нельзя допустить, чтобы каждая из трех сторон встретилась друг с другом.
The first to arrive at Belikov's office was Henk Rogers, proudly clutching the video game he was producing in Japan.
Как только мы сели за стол с господином Роджерсом, он без какого-то промедления достал такую коробочку. Честно говоря, я не понял, что это. И говорит: господин Беликов, я продаю ваш товар очень успешно.
And I said, see, we're publishing Tetris in Japan. We're the biggest publisher of Tetris in the world right now.
Я сказал, Elorg никому не давал права использования Тетриса для видео Home System.
I said, no, you did. And I turned the package around and see, the rights go from Elorg to Mirrorsoft to Tengen and to my company, Bulletproof Software. So that's how I got the rights. We never gave these rights to anybody. I thought, oh my gosh, something's wrong.
Я сказал, единственные права были переданы фирме Андромеда и только для использования Тетриса на персональных компьютерах. И вы незаконно продаете то, что вам не принадлежит.
Far from picking up the additional rights he had hoped for, Hank was faced with the prospect that his existing rights were worthless.
They were asking me really probing questions. Mr. Rogers, why did you think you got these rights? You know, these are the kind of thing that you would listen to in a court or something like that. It wasn't like a friendly conversation.
Он, конечно, был в шоке. В конце концов он сказал: да, я не знал. Вы меня извините, хочу работать с вами. У меня очень хорошие связи с крупнейшей компанией мира Nintendo. Это было 70% мирового рынка в то время.
I thought, either I'm going to come out of this with the rights to Tetris or I'm going to be in some gulag.